Hi folks, Tim here on Ask Neighbor Tim. You know, almost everybody has a car, and there are quite a few simple things that you can do to a car in order to make sure that it gives you the best possible performance. Today we're going to look at things like the windshield wipers, the 4 fluids in your engine, the tires. We're even going to wash some mats. All today on Ask Neighbor Tim. One simple fix is using rubbing alcohol in your windshield wiper blade. Just simply take your old t-shirt, and that's what I like to use, an old t-shirt, dip it in the alcohol and go up and down that blade. And just do it a couple times. And that's going to clean off all that dirt and grime, some of the grease and things that gets on there, and it really makes it work better. And you can even see how much dirt I get off that. Another simple maintenance trick is make sure you always keep your tires inflated properly. On the outside of your tire, there's always going to be some raised lettering that tells you the correct pressure. And this here says max inflation pressure, 350 kilopascals or 51 psi. I usually don't like to go up to that 50 mark. I'll usually go to about 45. Even with these low profile tires, I still like them to be right around 45 psi. Checking the air in your tires is very simple. There's always going to be a cap on your tire like this. I always like to keep those caps on there because it helps keep this clean, keeps dirt from getting in there, also seals it up really nice. And simply, you just have to have a really nice tire gauge. These are probably less than $10 in an auto parts store, in a hardware store, what have you. And I always like to see what kind of PSI I have right now by looking at the camera here. You can see I'm around 44, 45. I think I'm going to keep that pressure. Another quick maintenance tip, always make sure you check your oil on a fairly regular basis. Usually it's going to be a colored cap like this, and it's going to be toward the front of the engine. Sometimes I'm seeing them back in the back here, but this one's up toward the front. Like I said, it's usually a colored cap that gives you a little bit of an indicator. And what you do is you look to see where the oil is relative to the hatch marks. Now, this one is a round cable. Sometimes they're going to be flat. There's always going to be an area that says it's good, and you can see it should be good from here to here. It looks like my oil is about right in this area, so I think I'm okay on my oil. Looks nice and clean too. If it were really, really dark, you probably want to maybe start thinking about if it's time for an oil change, or at least look at your miles. But this looks like it's in good shape. And in fact, I know that because I just changed the oil here about a week, 2 weeks ago. Now this next one's going to take a little bit of time, but this is where my air filter is, and that's the air filter for the engine. And it's going to take a little bit of time because I'm going to have to disconnect the air sensor here. I'm going to have to disconnect the air return into my carburetor, and that's done usually through an O-ring, and you can see these silver O-rings here. I'll have to loosen those, and there's usually some screws on the cap of your air filter chamber that you've got to loosen. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll open it up and see what the air filter looks like. All right, my friends, sometimes there are just mysteries in this world that I don't even understand. One of those sometimes is, how do you make these disconnections? I'm not going to take too much time, but this one is fairly simple. All you do is you push out this little red tag here, you push down this button here, and then it should pop right out. Okay, I went ahead and took this flexible pipe off here. Like I said, simply a couple O-rings. All you have to do is loosen this screw right here. I took the cap off. Now, this cap does have a couple clips, and you can see those clips right here. They actually go down into this area. There's 2 holes right here that you have to slide it into, and then that should lift off, and then that exposes the air filter. And as I'm looking from the top here, looks like it's in pretty good shape. It does have a little bit of dirt on the inside. I'm probably just going to blow this one out. If it got really, really dirty, then we probably need to replace it, but I think this does a pretty nice job. There are 2 other simple checks that you need to do also. One is your brake fluid level, and the other is your radiator level. Now the brake fluid level in this one, there's a little line right here that says minimum, so I have to make sure that my brake fluid level is above that. In this case it is. And then on your radiator, now in this situation, there is also down below there a couple lines that tell you where the radiator fluid needs to be, and in this case I'm within those points. So check those 2. Don't do it when the engine is hot, especially on your radiator fluid, but when your engine is cool, go ahead and check that as well. The 4th fluid you need to really keep an eye on in your car would be your windshield wiper fluid. Now, it's not important that you keep this filled in order for your car to run, but it is nice if you have a really bad day and you need to wash off your windshields to make sure that you've got fluid in here. Now, this one doesn't have a dipstick or anything like that, or a line. It's a visual. You look down into this tube. If you can't see windshield wiper fluid, probably going to need to fill it up a little bit. Now, I like to use windshield wiper fluid that is rated to at least 20 degrees below zero, especially in the wintertime. Now, if you're in the southern climate, of course, that's not as necessary. But I think this does a nice job here. I'd never have had a freeze-up problem, so I really like this. But it's really pretty straightforward. You simply just dump it in until you can see the line. You're probably going to splash a little bit, get it on the ground. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with spilling that a little bit. I've been using that quite a bit here lately. And there, I can start seeing the fluid there. I've got enough windshield wiper fluid in there. All right, another hint is to make sure that you have nice and clean floor mats. Now, we went ahead and invested in these WeatherTech floor mats. We think they do a very nice job, but almost any floor mat that you have is going to have a couple tabs here that are fastened to the bottom of the car, or to the car itself, with a couple little, I want to say little buttons that all you got to do is pop them off. So simply, you just got to get your hand under there, and then those are going to pop off, both of those, and then you can pull your floor mat out. Well, we had quite a day, really checking on quite a few of the things in the car. And we looked at the 4 fluids that are in the car, that being the oil, the windshield wiper fluid, the radiator fluid, and the brake fluid. We checked the air filter in the car to make sure that that's working and it allows our engine to function the best possible way. We made sure we have enough air in our tires, and we even washed the mats. By the way, on those mats, I made sure they got nice and dry before I put them back into the car. And of course, I swept the car before I put those in here too. Nothing's better than a clean car when you're driving around. Don't be afraid to try to take care of the car you have. If you take care of the car you have, it's going to last you a lot longer and it's going to treat you a lot nicer. Do some simple things like those that I showed you today. It's really not that hard. If you have any questions, ask me there in the comments. But anyway, don't be scared to work on your car. Have a great day. This is Tim with Ask Neighbor Tim.